Hello and welcome to Introduction to Biblical Greek Unit 1. This is Kyle Sorkness. Originally, I video recorded the session that we had in person, the class that we had. And I mentioned in class and in email that we were going to put that video recording online for a few different reasons. I'm doing it this way instead for right now. I'm basically just going to run through the alphabet, not going to do any of the other stuff. Hopefully I'll be able to go back in later and fill that in with video also, but there was only one of you in the class who missed this one anyway, and for most of you the most important thing is just to review the alphabet. So and I've just also run out of time, so for now I'm just going to skip ahead to the alphabet and just do that. So here's the Koine Greek alphabet. In the first column here you see the name of the letter. Then you see its uppercase form, its lowercase form, its pronunciation with an English example, and then its transliteration. I'll get to explaining transliteration in a minute. So first let's just run through the names of the letters. The first letter is alpha. You might hear it pronounced alpha, and I'll probably slip into saying it sometimes that way. But in general, the first part of the letter helps you know what sound it makes. So this sound, as we're going to say in a moment, makes the ah sound as in father. So I find it helpful to pronounce this alpha instead of alpha. So the first letter is alpha. It looks just like our uppercase A, and in the lowercase it looks like a lot like our lowercase a. It is an ah sound as in father. The next letter is beta. Again, the first letter of the name helps you with the pronunciation of the Greek letter. So the uppercase looks just like our uppercase B, and the lowercase looks a lot like our uppercase B again. You'll just notice that it comes down below the line and that it's curved. It makes a B sound as in babble. So far we have something that's very similar to AB, alpha, beta, A, B. So far so good. The third letter is gamma. Again, you might hear this pronounced gamma, and it's probably not that big of a deal how you pronounce it, but I like to just help myself remember that the ah is usually an ah sound as in father. The A is an ah sound. So I like to say this gamma rather than gamma, just so I can remember to pronounce my A's that way, or rather my alphas that way. So gamma. The uppercase does not look like anything we have. It looks like an L that's been flipped upside down. And the lowercase doesn't look a whole lot like anything we have either. This font might make a little, I'm going to zoom in here. This font makes it a little hard to see what this is, but basically if you can see my mouse, you just follow this shape down here. It curls and goes back up. So again, it comes down, there's a loop, and it goes back up. This makes the G sound, as in gag, so it's very much like our letter G. So now you have A, B, there's no C, it goes to G, A, B, G, and then we're to D. So you kind of have to think of this gamma as having been like in the C place. So you had A, B, C, D, but A, B, G, D. So the fourth letter is delta. The capital delta looks just like a triangle, and the lowercase delta looks a lot like our lowercase d, except that it curves, hooks back around at the top. The delta makes the D sound as in dad. So it's very much like our D. The next letter is very much like our E, epsilon. The uppercase epsilon looks exactly like our uppercase letter E, and the lowercase epsilon looks like a small backwards 3. This makes the E sound as in bet. So you have A, B, G, D, E. Then we veer off a little bit from the English alphabet, and we have 3 in a row. They're different, but at least they rhyme. So we have Zeta, eta and theta. Now, if I was being really good with my pronunciation, I would probably say zeta, eta, and theta, and pronounce these T's. But in English, when we're speaking quickly, we say them more like D's. So the zeta, eta, theta is fine to say. So zeta, the capital looks just like our capital Z, and the lowercase is one of the stranger looking letters in Greek. Here it is. It starts up here, it hooks around, curls around there, comes back down. This goes below the baseline and hooks back. So again, this is one of the stranger looking ones. You start up here, curly Q up at the top. This is the baseline, and then this part is dipping beneath the baseline. So that is zeta. Not surprisingly, it makes a Z sound as in zoos. You'll notice here that this is actually an S, but when we pronounce that S, we say it as though it were a Z. Zoos. We don't usually say Zeus. Zoos. So that's zeta. The next one is eta. The capital eta looks like a capital H, which might be confusing because this does not make an H sound. The lowercase eta looks somewhat like our lowercase n, except that the right-hand side of it dips down below the baseline. So that is eta. It makes an A sound, as in our English word obey. Eta. Again, the name of the letter itself helps you with the pronunciation. Eta. And then we have theta, the third of these rhyming ones here. Zeta, eta, theta. Theta looks, the uppercase looks like an O with a horizontal line in the middle of it, but not quite touching the sides. I'm going to zoom in again here so you can see that. The horizontal line does not touch the sides. In the lowercase theta, it's more of an oval shape. It's taller, not as circular, and the horizontal line does go all the way from one side to the other. So that's theta. Again, we look at the beginning of the letter and it gives us a clue as to its pronunciation. This has a th sound, as in thing, the English word thing. Then we kind of get back on track with the English alphabet. We go to basically the equivalent of our letter I. Now you might be tempted to pronounce this iota. It's best to pronounce this iota. Iota. Now you're going to say the E and the O sound so close to each other that it will almost sound like one sound. So it'll be iota, iota. The uppercase iota looks like our uppercase I, and the lowercase iota looks a lot like our lowercase I, except there's no dot on it and the bottom hooks back up just a little bit. This has the I or E sound, as in the English word intrigue. You can see there are two I's in intrigue. The first time it's an I sound, the second time it's an E sound. So this is why we pronounce it iota, partly because it has this E sound that it can make. So iota, I, or E. Then after I, if we're kind of trying to parallel the English alphabet, we would go to J. There is no J, but we get back on with K, or something very close to our K, called Kapa. Again, you might hear this pronounced Kappa, but I like to say Kapa. The uppercase Kappa looks exactly like our uppercase K, and the lowercase Kappa, you might say that's a little bit different than our lowercase K, but I guess it's closer to just a small uppercase K. But by that I mean that this bar does not extend up any higher than this angled line does. This has the K sound, as in kick. So that's Kappa. Then if we were saying I, no J, K, L, the equivalent of our letter L is lambda. Again, you'll hear lambda, but I'm saying lambda. The uppercase lambda is confusing because it looks sort of like an upside down V. Lambda. This is the lowercase lambda. You start, I'm going to zoom in again here. You start making this line, so you curl, come down, curl back up, and then you add this other slanted line. So that is the lambda. it makes the ol sound as in leaf. Then if you had I, no J, K, L, M, the equivalent of our M, this letter is called mu. The uppercase looks exactly like our uppercase M. The lowercase looks sort of like an M. I'm going to zoom in again here, but you can see that on the left side it dips below the baseline. So you start off writing it down here, you come up, come back down, go up again, back down, and hook just a little bit back up. So that is the lowercase mu. This makes the sound, as in mime. Then I, no J, K, L, M, N. Before we get to O, there's this weird one that's put here in the middle. It's called C. Not only does it sound strange, but it looks strange. The uppercase C, I'm going to zoom in, looks like a box that is not closed, it's open on the sides here, with a bar going through it. So I'm going to scroll back up to the theta. Remember, the theta was a circle with a horizontal line that didn't go all the way through it. Now if I scroll back down to C, you'll see that it's similar, except instead of a circle, it's kind of these squared bracketed pieces. So if that helps you distinguish between the two. The lowercase c, I guess if you look at it, the basic shape looks sort of like a backwards 3, but it has some curly pieces on here. I'm going to zoom in even more. The C, you start up here at the top, you make one small loop, come around, make this loop in the middle, then you come down. This line is on the baseline, and this portion hooks down beneath the baseline. So I'm going to scroll up here to show you how similar this is to the lowercase zeta. If you remember, the zeta had a curl up here. This is the baseline, and this piece goes below the baseline. The C is this shape, except it has another loop added here in the middle. So I'm going to scroll back down again to the C, and you can see it's one loop on the top, a loop in the middle. We hit the baseline, and then we go beneath the baseline. The C makes the X sound, as in our English word axiom. So that one out of the way, we go back to sort of the English alphabet with the equivalent of the O. Although don't think of it as being pronounced O, think of it as ah. Omicron. Omicron, not Omicron, Omicron. The capital, the uppercase Omicron, looks just like our uppercase O. The lowercase Omicron looks just like our lowercase o. So here we have a nice easy one. And it makes the ah sound, as in not. After O in English comes P, and that's the same here, and it is pronounced P. You might recognize the symbol from mathematics, and you might have heard it called pi in math, but in Greek it's called P. The letter's called P. So the uppercase P looks like basically an uppercase version of this one would, and the lowercase version of P you're probably familiar with. I'll zoom in again here. You make the top first, and then you come down and add these two legs underneath. P makes the P sound, as in pip, so very similar to our English letter P. Now after P in English comes Q. There is no Q, so then we move on to R. And this letter in Greek is called rho. It does have an H there in the name, so some people add a little air in there and say rho or something like that, but we can just say rho. Now this might confuse you because the rho looks like our English P. But again, the equivalent of our English P is the Greek letter called P. This is the rho. Even though it looks like a P, it makes an R sound, rho. So the uppercase rho looks like our uppercase P, unfortunately. And the lowercase rho kind of looks like our lowercase p, unfortunately. But again, it makes the R sound, as in rod. This might confuse you at first, but you'll quickly get used to it. After R in English comes S, and it's the same in Greek, so the next letter is sigma. The capital sigma you might have also seen in mathematics. looks like a backwards 3 again, this time with points on it. Instead of being rounded, it's pointed. So that is the sigma. Generally, you would start up at the top and just kind of zigzag your way down. The lowercase sigma, I'm going to zoom in. There are two listed here because lowercase sigma generally appears like this. Basically, it looks like our lowercase o with this thing added to the top, this little horizontal line added to the top of it. If sigma, however, is the final letter in a word, it's called final sigma, and it looks different. It looks like this. It looks much more like our S. So when you're writing this final sigma, this part right here is actually on the baseline, and this part goes down beneath. So we've seen that in a few letters now where we have a shape kind of like this, where this hits the baseline and this part curls underneath. So sigma will usually look like this unless it's the final letter in a word. Then final sigma looks like that. Sigma, as you would assume, has the S sound, as in our English word sass. After S in English comes T, and that's the same in the Greek alphabet. The equivalent of our letter T is called tau. Tau. Uppercase tau looks just like our uppercase T, and lowercase tau looks kind of just like a small t. I'm going to zoom in. You'll see that basically it just looks like a small t. The bottom of it is hooked back up a little bit, similar to what we've seen here on the P, where it hooks back up, and on the iota we saw it hook back up in a few other places. So that is the tau, and not surprisingly it makes the T sound, as in our English word tot. After T in English comes the letter U, and again it's similar in Greek. The next letter is Upsilon. Now I'll get to the pronunciation in a moment. The uppercase Upsilon, I actually used a different font here, which is why this one looks a little bit different. Basically, it's just a capital Y. It looks like our capital Y. I didn't like how the other font did it, and so just think of it as a capital Y, which again might be a little confusing because it's not usually a Y sound, but that's what it looks like. The lowercase upsilon looks just like a small u, so that's easy to remember. Now, upsilon can be pronounced, some have suggested pronouncing it like the U in universe, so like upsilon. Or if you're daring, you can attempt the German umlaut sound. Now, I am not a student of German, so I could be doing this incorrectly, but from what I've understood, the umlaut sounds something like U. So this would be upsilon. The hint that I've heard and the hint that we discussed in class was to put your lips in an O shape as though you're going to say oo, an O shape as though you're going to say oo, but instead say E. So with your lips in an oo position, say E, and it might sound like U, U, upsilon. Again, if you don't want to mess with that, just say it U as in universe, upsilon. The next letter, we deviate from English here again for 3 more letters, but again these rhyme, phi, he, psi, so that can help us out, the fact that they rhyme, and then we're done. So we've got these 3 that rhyme. The first is phi. The uppercase phi is basically a circle with a vertical line going through it. The lowercase phi, now I used a different font here again because I didn't like this font's lowercase phi. But one problem, as you can see here, I'm going to zoom in, the uppercase and the lowercase, you almost can't tell them apart from each other. The uppercase phi should have a larger circle. I wish this one weren't as big on the lowercase phi. It could be even smaller. And then here I actually encourage you to draw the bars on the top and bottom of this vertical line. Most of the time you don't need to put those little serifs on the end. But here I encourage you to not only draw a vertical line down, but to actually cap it off as though you were making a capital letter I in English. Whereas here, just make a vertical line straight down. That will be another thing that will help you tell the difference between the uppercase and the lowercase phi. Phi makes the f sound as in phone. There is no letter F equivalent in Greek, in Koine Greek. So this, if it helps you to think of it as the F sound, fine, but it's probably better to think of it as the PH sound since it is phi. The next letter, I'm pronouncing he. However, the way I was actually taught to pronounce it was simply ki. So really anywhere between ki and he, anywhere in that range is fine. The uppercase chi looks like a capital X in English, and the lowercase chi looks sort of just like an X again, except that this angled piece has little curls on both sides of it, and this one's just straight. So the little guide here says to pronounce it like the CH sound in the word lach. So you're a Scottish person speaking this, you would say lach. So it's got kind of some spitting in your throat there when you say it. So if you're not that daring, if you don't want to try the chi, you can just do key, as in, put the key in the lock. The third of these letters that rhymes, phi, chi, is psi. The uppercase psi looks, I don't really know how to describe it other than just to show it to you right here. To me it kind of looks like a pitchfork or a harp or something like that. So you have this kind of U shape with the curls on it and then the vertical line going through it. The lowercase psi looks like the same thing except it's smaller. If we were to put these on lines, like when you learned how to write your English letters in kindergarten, this part of this letter would be going across the middle, the dotted line, and the bottom of it would be hitting the base line. That's what I've been referring to when I've been saying baseline. The lowercase is resting on the base line, and the top of it only comes to about the middle dotted lines. So it's hard to tell here because they're not right next to each other, but that's how you tell uppercase from lowercase psi, is simply by the size and where it is if you were to put it on a line. So the psi makes the ps sound, as in lips, PS sound. And the last letter of the alphabet, many of you probably know, you've heard the phrase alpha and omega. So omega is the final letter of the alphabet. Unlike omicron, which was an ah sound, omega is a long sound, omega. The uppercase omega you may have seen before. Again, I'm not really sure how to describe this other than just to show it to you. So you would start on the left, move in, go up, then do the circular piece, come back down, and go to the right. The lowercase omega looks like, kind of like our W, but again it's the O sound. That's the lowercase omega, and it makes an O sound as in tone, omega. So let me, now that we've run through the Koine Greek alphabet, let me just quickly talk about transliteration. We talked about this briefly in class. Basically, this means that sometimes when you are reading like a Bible commentary or a dictionary or perhaps a note in a Bible or something like that, rather than write out a Greek word using these Greek letters, because not everyone knows how to read these Greek letters, rather than doing that, they will transliterate the letters, meaning put them into kind of their English letter equivalent. So a lot of these are pretty intuitive. Alpha is an A, beta is a B, gamma is a G, delta is a D, epsilon is an E, zeta is a Z, eta is an E with a line over it. I'm going to zoom in so you can see that. That's eta. Theta is TH. Don't worry about memorizing these. That's why I'm running through them quickly. Iota is an I, Kappa is a K, Lambda is an L, mu is an M, nu is an N, Xi is an X, Omicron is an O, P is a P, Rho is an R, Sigma is an S, Tau is a T, Epsilon is either a U or a Y, depending on how it's being used, where it is in the word. Phi is PH, Chi is CH, and Psi is PS. Finally, Omega is an O with a line over it. Omicron was an O without a line over it. Again, Eta was an E with a line over it, and Epsilon was an E without a line over it. Now, as I did that, I realized that I forgot to say nu. I guess I got caught up in, I just wanted to get to C so badly. So let's do nu quickly. I'm sorry for forgetting that. So after M comes N. So nu. Uppercase nu looks just like our uppercase N, and lowercase nu looks like our lowercase v. This is another one that's sort of a problem because this is not the V sound, it's an N sound. So this will take you a little while to get down, but after a while it won't be so much of a problem. So nu makes the N sound as in none. So having run through those quickly, I want to show you this. Now this is something that we didn't go over in class, this placement of the letters. We're going to do that during our second session. But I mentioned that you could do this if you wanted to. I find that it's helpful when first memorizing the alphabet to put it in a way so that you can see where it parallels the English alphabet. So I kind of talked you through that as I went through the letters, but here you have them divided out. Alpha, beta, gamma, delta, epsilon kind of fits with our English alphabet, except that instead of a C, it's a G type letter. That's why I've made this letter blue, to show you that it doesn't really fit, but it's close enough. It's kind of like A, B, G, D, E. Now we diverge for a little bit, and both of these times when we really diverge, it's kind of nice because at least the divergent letters rhyme. So after epsilon we have zeta, eta, theta. So those don't fit with our English alphabet, but at least those three rhyme. So alpha, beta, gamma, delta, epsilon, zeta, eta, theta. Now here we get back on track with the English alphabet for quite a while, except this one in here, which again I've put in a blue color to show that it doesn't fit. But a lot like English, we have I, now there's no J, but K, L, M, N, skip this one, O, P, no Q, R, S, T, U. So here we have a long stretch that's very similar to the English alphabet. So again, the Greek letters are iota, kappa, lambda, mu, nu, xi, here we get off track, xi, then back on track, omicron, p, rho, sigma, this is regular sigma, this is final sigma if it occurs at the end of a word, sigma, tau, epsilon. Then we diverge from the English alphabet again, but as I mentioned, these three at least rhyme, so that helps us out. We have phi, chi, and psi. Phi, chi, psi. And the last letter by itself over here, I could have put it in blue because it doesn't fit with our English alphabet, but I think most of you are aware that the last letter is omega, so I kept that one from being blue. So let's just run over these one more time quickly. Alpha, beta, gamma, delta, epsilon, zeta, eta, theta, iota, kappa, lambda, mu, nu, xi, omicron, p, rho, sigma, tau, epsilon, phi, chi, psi, omega. So I would invite you before class, before session 2, I would invite you to just run over these as many times as it takes until you have them down and memorized. I will let you know that you do not need to worry so much about the uppercase letters. We're going to discuss that in session 2, why we rarely run into uppercase letters. So really, to get the most bang for your buck, just worry about the lowercase letters. So if If you want to think about it this way, you can think about me just cutting in half the number of letters that you needed to memorize. So just worry about the lowercase letters. Again, here they are. If it helps you to put them in this way so that you can see where it parallels the English alphabet and where it diverges, feel free to do that. Remember that the name of the letter itself helps you remember the sound that it makes, but if you need help, just look back up here and you can see how it's pronounced. Transliteration, don't need to worry about that anymore for right now either. So if you can focus on this before we meet again, if you're able to watch this video before session 2, I would encourage you to do that.